Dear EUFOR Major General Luif, dear EUFOR staff, dear participants, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this important conference. But since unfortunately I cannot be with you in Sarajevo, I'm glad that I have the possibility to share some thoughts on the topic with you via this video message. My name is Ulrike Lunacek. I'm Vice President of this European Parliament from the Greens, from Austria, and I'm in charge, among other things, of the Western Balkans. I'm also Vice Chair of the European Parliament's Delegation for Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo, and I am this Parliament's rapporteur on Kosovo. Let me really congratulate you for organizing this conference, which focuses on the role of women in the security sector. And let me tell you that from my own years of experience in politics and before in the feminist movement, cooperating with the peace and the development movements, I'm convinced that conflict prevention and peace and reconciliation processes would be more effective if women played an equal part in these processes. The UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, adopted 15 years ago, was a landmark towards that aim and has been used and applied in many areas. I really appreciate it that EUFOR is making inclusion of women, of their expertise and their experiences, an important topic of its work. The European Parliament's draft motion for a resolution on the 2014 progress report on Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is currently being debated in the European Parliament and will be voted in plenary in April, also follows that line. Its paragraph 16 clearly states that the European Parliament considers it essential to foster an inclusive and tolerant Bosnia-Herzegovina society and to develop a state-level anti-discrimination strategy. It also calls on competent authorities, and I quote, to, among other things, pursue efforts to increase participation of women in politics and in the workforce, unquote. As women, we have learned, every one of us, that there are limits to our endeavors that men, in general, do not face. Girls are not promoted equally by their parents and by society in order to have the same opportunities in education. Girls and women become victims of sexualized violence and harassment. And as adults, women face lower pay and the glass ceiling. And when it comes to crisis prevention, women are seldomly included. Although, as a United Nations study shows, which was done by the first female Minister of Defense in Finland, Ms. Elisabeth Rehn, and who was also Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Bosnia and Herzegovina at the end of the 1990s, and the current President of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They showed in that study that women's experience can help to prevent crises before they escalate into violence. And of course, reconciliation cannot and must not be done without women. Can the trauma of war ever be overcome without including women, their suffering and their demands? No. Let me also mention one very good example where women in the Bosnia and Herzegovina Parliament have set an example and have gone forward. Their cross-party debate on gender-based violence is an example to be followed. With your conference today, you are doing exactly that, raising the importance of the fact that equality and equal rights can only become reality if also the security sector, if civilian and military missions include not just the demands of women, but women in their staff at all levels. I would like to repeat, I'm really glad to see that EUFOR is actively promoting this and showing the way forward. Thank you for that, and I'm convinced your conference will be one important step to empower women, so they will find more support and also more courage and power inside themselves to actively participate at all levels of political, economic and social life. Let me thank you once more for conducting this conference. I wish you fruitful and empowering discussions, and that your ideas and proposals for an inclusive security sector will become reality soon. Thank you and goodbye.